Israel has that unshakable ally. Israel's best guarantee against any threat and any foe can count on the United States of America.
The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, Israel's lobby in the United States, will deploy $100 million this campaign season to help elect pro-genocide candidates to the U.S. Congress. That makes AIPAC the largest single-issue spender in the primaries. For AIPAC, priority number one is to unseat the most vocal critics of Israel's genocidal war on Gaza. Target number one has been Michigan Democratic Representative Rashida Tlaib, Congress's most outspoken advocate for Palestinian human rights.
I am a reminder to colleagues that Palestinians do indeed exist. And colleagues, Palestinians aren't going anywhere no matter how much money you send to Israel's apartheid government.
AIPAC offered a whopping $20 million to both Hill Harper and Nasser Beydoun to run against her in the 2024 Democratic primary, a fifth of AIPAC's entire war chest. Both Harper and Beydoun balked at AIPAC's offer, and both leaked the dollar amount they were offered, apparently to dissuade others from taking the blood money.
My views are very similar to Rashida's, so how do I help? And he said that they don't care. They understand you're pro-Palestinian, but they just want Rashida out.
It was harder than AIPAC realized to compel a Democrat from Arab Detroit to accept $20 million to support a plausible genocide of the Palestinians. Who would have guessed? AIPAC has had more success in their attempt to unseat New York Democratic Representative Jamal Bowman, one of the few U.S. lawmakers calling for a ceasefire.
This body needs empathy and compassion for all people, not just people that look like the majority of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle.
AIPAC recruited pro-Israel stalwart George Latimer to run against Bowman in the Democratic primary, giving Latimer more than $600,000, or a sum 42% of his entire campaign budget. After AIPAC, Latimer's next largest contributor was Bradley Tusk, who gave the maximum of $6,600.
This is why we came together and introduced the Ceasefire Now resolution in Congress.
That brings us to AIPAC's attempt to oust Missouri Democratic Representative Cori Bush, the lead sponsor of a House resolution pushing President Biden to call for a ceasefire. This has been AIPAC's most impressive success story to date. Wesley Bell, their hand-picked pro-genocide candidate to take out Bush, was beating her by 22% in a February 7-9 poll of 401 likely 2024 Democratic primary voters.
This is why we are calling for a ceasefire now.
AIPAC is also trying to bring an end to the Pennsylvania Democratic Representative Summer Lee's political career. Bhavini Patel seems to have been recruited to this end, although Patel has not acknowledged it publicly. In December 2022, the Jewish Insider reported that Patel had been tentatively eyed by some pro-Israel advocates in Pittsburgh as a potential challenger to Lee next cycle. For Patel, the AIPAC money is already paying back dividends, as she recently published photos on her Instagram attending pro-Israel rallies. In February 2024, Patel told her supporters on a fundraising call that she could help take down the Progressive Squad by leveraging support from right-wing Hindu and pro-Israel supporters. For decades, AIPAC has been on a mission to engineer a pro-Israel, pro-apartheid, and now a pro-genocide U.S. Congress. In the 2022 midterms, for example, AIPAC spent $30 million on candidates to ensure their support for billions every year in unconditional military aid to Israel, even though that meant supporting 109 U.S. House of Representative members who voted to overturn the 2020 election. For AIPAC, the end of American democracy is apparently a price worth paying if it means the continuation of Jewish supremacy in Israel and Palestine. Recall that in 2012, AIPAC helped Hakeem Jeffries defeat Charles Barron in a 2012 Democratic seat for Congress with at least $470,000 in donations. In true fashion, AIPAC and Jeffries accused Barron of anti-Semitism for having described Gaza as a concentration camp.
We are the Palestinian people. We are one people. And any oppressed people in the world, particularly oppressed people of color, we have the same struggle, the same fight, the same enemy, the same problems, and we should create that kind of unity.
Today, Hakeem Jeffries is the Democratic House Minority Leader and opposes placing any conditions at all on the billions of dollars sent to the Israeli military every year.
We shouldn't put conditions on the ability of any of our allies to defend themselves, particularly against a brutal terrorist regime like Hamas.
That makes Jeffries directly complicit with Israel's genocidal acts in Gaza. AIPAC's power and influence over the U.S. Congress has meant that many of our elected representatives enter politics for the sole reason that they are willing to keep quiet about Israeli war crimes. The result has been that a tiny group of people representing a tiny minority of U.S. citizens have been and continue to engineer U.S. congressional support for a plausible genocide.